everybody, this is Caitlin here, and welcome once again to the Force of Will spoiler discussion videos. This one came really out of nowhere. There was no indication that the spoiler season was going to be starting literally this week. I mean, last week I guess I was good for like predicting rulers last week, whatever, because we started the spoilers this week. So maybe I foresaw the future, but I'm not too sure. But anyway, if it's going to work out exactly how I think, I feel like we're going to have spoilers every single day. Obviously Monday to Friday. So what will happen is, just depending on how many different cards we get, I decided that for this one I'm going to do the one video because there's quite a lot to talk about in terms of the new mechanic that's been introduced. If I can, I will try and at least put one video each day discussing the cards. I know last time I did it, I kind of clumped some of them together into like the one video to save up on doing them several days a week. But now that, things have changed and whatnot in my circumstances and everything, I'm going to try my best to get at least one of the spoiler ones out each day. There might be a day in the week where I have to like group them together, whatever, depending on like circumstances and whatnot. But I will do my best, guys, to give you at least one video each day in regards to the spoilers and whatnot. And starting off, I feel like I was half right and half wrong in my prediction. The ruler that we got revealed here is Princess of Fleeting Hope, who is a human, who obviously is the artwork that was featured on the poster and whatnot. She has a judgment of 2, which is 2 light. So technically speaking, she is a light ruler. But funnily enough, she has an energized for light and darkness, which is really interesting because I don't believe we've had a monocolor ruler who had an energized with 2 colors. Normally, I believe it was the dual colored rulers way back. It started off in like Legacy Lost, Advent of the Demon King. They had energized for both of their respective colors, but this is the first time I believe that we've got a ruler who is monocolored themselves, but they have an energized of 2 different colors. She also has an ability here, which is 0 cost. Recover target resonator. Play this ability only during your opponent's turn and only once per turn, which I think is quite an interesting mechanic to have on the ruler side. That way, it's like you can, recover something, get an extra block or whatever. It doesn't say it has to be at the start of your opponent's turn, so you could essentially block with something. If it manages to live, then you can just ready it up again and it will block again and whatnot. So you can have multiple blockers, depending on whatnot, whether they're dead or not. And at the bottom here, the flavor text says, I believe it says Oni-sama, I believe, because it's like two eyes there, so I believe that's Oni-sama, which would be Big Brother, I'm pretty sure, or Brother. That pitiful form, don't worry, I shall release you, which I believe, since I am kind of half right in that it's Lumia, she's talking to Grim, or rather the Vampire Grim, as we saw him in the Rhea starter deck. But flipping over, we get a bit more info as to who exactly this is. She calls herself Amul, or Amul. I'm not quite sure you meant to pronounce it. Princess of Despair. So we're getting all Danganronpa up in here. But if you look at the name, Amul is Lumia backwards. So they weren't even being very subtle with that name choice. So I was technically right in that Lumia is the light ruler. It just seems to be this world's twisted version of Lumia, where she is all full of hope and despair and Danganronpa, and she's wearing the skimpiest outfit ever. And for some reason she has one white wing, one black wing. So it's like the change of heart card from Yu-Gi-Oh! She's very strange, but she only has 300 attack and 300 defense, which I think is probably one of the lowest amounts of attack and defense for a J ruler. She has flying and imperishable, which I guess is like to boost up the fact that obviously she's so weak. Although there are obviously field spells or card spells or whatever chance that you could use to boost up her attack if she was to swing and whatnot. But she comes with this new keyword, and again, a new keyword for this new set. We have Drain, which is whenever this card deals damage, you gain that much life. Now, it just says deals damage, so I'm assuming that if you swung this into something, into like a resonator, like if your opponent blocked or whatever, you would still get the life gain. But at the same time, it's like, it doesn't say it necessarily has to attack your opponent to get the life gain, which I think is really interesting. And her other ability here is that when this card enters the field, look at the top 3 cards of your deck. You may put a non-chant card with total cost 3 or less from among them into the field. You may invert that card, put the rest on the bottom of your deck in any order. This card gains 200 for each inverse entity that you control. Inverse is going to be Amul's or Amul's. I'm not quite sure which one I prefer. I prefer Amul. I think Amul is the one I'm going for. I prefer Amul's design here. I think it's really, really nice. And this new ability here with inverse cards seems to be her kind of gimmick, her mechanic, or whatever, the thing that we're going to be having a really in-depth look at today. But it's also interesting to note that on her ruler side, she's a light ruler, but on her J ruler side, she becomes a darkness ruler. So maybe the energized ability is a bit of foreshadowing there as to what she is. So I was kind of right and wrong. She is technically light ruler, but she is also the darkness ruler. So she's sort of dual type, but sort of not, because she changes colour when she flips, which is really, really interesting. A false peace, a deadly sickness. So, I wonder if she's come to, you know, save the day or bring just a lot of despair, just like Danganronpa. She's essentially Monokuma. She is Monokuma in the Force of Will universe. I've just realised that. But moving on, we have our first resonator here, which is Knight of Hope. I'm going to just slip in as many Danganronpa references as I can, or just even mention it. It's a 1-cost resonator, 1 light, it's 400. Whenever you do Judgment of a Ruler, you invert this card, aka flip it over. So it seems to be, this might be the mechanic that replaces Shift, because we didn't see Shift. The last time we saw it was in Curse of the Frozen Casket. I believe only one resonator, the Lumia resonator, had the Shift mechanic, which was really weird because Shift lasted all of maybe 2 sets. It lasted from Battle for Ataratica and the one Shift card that occurred in, what was it, Curse of the Frozen Casket. So it seems that they've done away with Shift entirely now, because we haven't seen that mechanic since then, but this might be the new version of it, because certain cards, whatever, can be inverted, which is flipped over. So when we flip this card over, it becomes the Knight of Despair, which is an 800 human inverse, and it doesn't have any other flavor text, whatever, it's just despair is an inconvenient truth. But you'll notice that there is no cost printed on this side, because what I believe is you can only cast this on the front side that has the cost. You are unable to invert it unless you have a card that says invert a card, or you meet the stipulates of this card. You cannot cast the card as, say, Knight of Despair, because it doesn't have a will cost in the corner. So that's my reasoning for it. It's also counted as a human/inverse, so it would also count towards Lumia gaining her 200, or Amel, as I should say. It would count towards Amel getting her 200 buff, because it's counted as an inverse card. So you cannot cast it on this side. You can only cast it on the actual resonator light side or whatever. But it's quite interesting, I think, how it starts off on the light side, but then when you inverse it, it turns dark. So it's like the hope falling into despair, which I find really interesting. Next up, we have a quick cast chant here. We have False Peace. It's a 1-drop quick cast, I should say, for light. You gain 400 life and draw a card. Then remove this card inverted from the game. Remove this card from the game, flipped over. So essentially, once you use this card, it is removed from the game, but it becomes basically the inverted side. So it doesn't become False Peace, it becomes the other side of the card. Come now, you can still fight, can't you, Princess of Fleeting Hope? The artwork, by the way, for Amel is absolutely on point. She is looking absolutely gorgeous. I love her design, and I love her kind of motif that she's got going here. And when you inverse this card, it becomes Deadly Pox, which is funny how a character who is balanced on like hope and despair, light and dark, white and black, she can go from saintly and heavenly looking from False Peace to horribly evil and demonic into Deadly Pox. So that it becomes a 2-cast chant, or 2-cost chant. It's no longer quick cast, so you need to bear in mind that you can only cast this on your turn. It's 1 darkness and 1 void. If this card moves to a non-chase zone, you flip it over, obviously. Play this card only from your removed area. Your opponent loses 400 life and discards a card. So it's kind of like the opposite effect of what what was it called? False Peace? Yeah, False Peace. It's kind of the opposite of False Peace. So instead of you gaining 400 and drawing a card, your opponent loses 400 and discards a card. So it's kind of cool how it's sort of like a pseudo remnant ability, but you get a different ability from it, which I quite like, actually. It might be a bit of murder for, obviously, those who have their cards in sleeves. You'll have to unsleeve it constantly when you inverse the cards and whatnot, but you were doing that anyway for Shift cards anyway, so I don't see the problem in that. But I do like this idea. I think if worked correctly, and if she does get a lot of support for it, Amel could be pretty decent with this mechanic. And also at the bottom, it's like fall into despair, so really is Danganronpa. Going on to the next card here, again, beautiful, beautiful artwork from Mad in particular. Mad always produces top quality artwork for this card game. We have the Twin Blades of Hope and Despair, might as well be Hope's Peak Academy right up here. It is a quick cast chant of 1 dark and 1 light. Target resonator you control gains plus 600, and target resonator your opponent controls gains minus 600 until end of turn. Then remove this card inverted from the game. It's a bit of a shame that this says only target resonator, because this really would have helped a lot with Amel in terms of swinging and whatnot, because 6/6 is a really good buff for 2 will. I know, I believe there's a quick cast chant in, I believe, is a Winds of Vitality from the green one, which gives 600 for 1 green. But for using another effect on it, I feel like this is alright. Plus, it's an SR chant, which is pretty insane. I love the SR chants, pretty much the majority of them. They are a bit hard to get though, so it'll be a bit hard to get a playset of these. Hope is just someone's denial of their despair. Enough with these cheap tricks. She's really not taking anything. I have to wonder though, like, at this point, is the Demon King defeated? Is Emil here to, like, have some beef with Rhea, because obviously she's controlling Grim? I'm not too sure here where the story is leading. Maybe the Demon King's been defeated at this point, but I'm not too sure. I feel like he wouldn't go down so easily. But we remove the card from the game and it inverts and it becomes the Sword of Fate, which is, again, beautiful, beautiful artwork here. It is a 4-cost chant, no longer quick cast. It is 2 light and 2 darkness. Play this card only from your removed area. Choose one. Destroy target J/Resonator. You heard me right. J Ruler Destruction is back. Or put target Resonator with total cost 5 or less from your graveyard into the field. Now, we actually have a way of destroying J Rulers outright again. First we had Black Moonbeam. Now we've got Sword of Fate, which obviously you can only do on your turn because it's not quick cast, and you can only do it once this card has been inverted. So once you've played the other card, the Twin Blades of Hope and Despair, that gets removed from the game and it inverts and becomes this card. So it's really just a trump card that sits in your removed area, and I feel like the only way that perhaps this would maybe backfire on you is if you were going up against the not Advent of the Demon King, the Return of the Dragon Emperor, that Gil Lapis from that one, who's all about removing your opponent's cards and whatnot. I think that would be the only instance where maybe this would be a flaw in having these cards, whatever, because obviously they get put to your removed area, which I believe that Gil can still access. I don't think they specifically have to be removed from him, although I might need to double check that and see if he can tamper with cards that you specifically remove from the game. But yeah, we have J Ruler Destruction is back again, and we have the ability to also either put in a Resonator with total cost 5 or less. I'm trying to think, in Light or Darkness, I can't really think of a Resonator specifically who's in Light and Darkness who's a 5 cost who would be a really good target for this. I mostly think of 4-drops, really. There might be some pretty good 5-drops that get stuck in with this set or whatever. We're not too sure yet because most of these cards that we've seen so far are not that expensive. But I am curious to see if maybe they'll back it up with it. I know that we have like the humans here for the knights and whatnot. Specifically, they're human, they're not knight, the subtype of knight or anything like that. And Emil herself is considered human, so maybe we'll get some more humans that could be 5-drops or something. Or maybe because obviously Emil has a heavy angel kind of gimmick here with the wings, maybe some angels could come back, maybe some form of Celestial Wing Seraph. Maybe that's just wishful thinking on my part because I miss her so much in the actual format, but I digress. I love these cards, guys, and I'm really thinking, I'm even just off the bat, I'm already leaning towards Ammo for building a deck with her, because I love her gimmick, I love her motif, I love her design, and I'm very interested to see what other support that she ends up getting. Now, there was a lot of stuff that was also revealed today, which I'm not going to discuss in this video. I'm going to keep it for Wednesday's Card Game Tuesday, Card Game Wednesday, that video for then, so I might be a little bit late to the party in terms of discussing all the things that got revealed in terms of what we're getting with the set and everything, and the actual starter deck that got revealed, but I will be discussing it on Wednesday, guys, so if you can keep tabs on when I upload that video on Wednesday, you'll hear me discussing it and my thoughts about it and everything like that. And hopefully tomorrow I'll be with you guys discussing tomorrow's spoilers, if it is true that we're getting spoilers every single day again like they did last time. So let me know, guys, what you think of these initial spoilers. Are you liking the idea of Ammo, who's going to maybe turn into Lumia at some point? Let me know what you think, guys, and I'll see all of you next time.